Hello and welcome to the Philippines. Can you have the best of both worlds? Life in the province and yet close to the convenience of the larger city or town here in the Philippines. And I believe that you can, and I know that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of expats experiencing that. This was my transportation to and from the beach this particular day. This was a video from a while back. Over on Mactan Island was was it a holiday or birthday, something. We went to a beach, a big large family, and had chairs for the truck. And one thing I love about the Philippines is the freedom similar to what I had growing up. There are many options in the Philippines. You can live in the Manila metropolitan area. You've got Angeles City, you've got Subic Bay, Cebu City, the second largest city in the country. You've got Davao City, Iloilo City, Bacolod City, Baguio City up in the mountains where it's cooler. The summer capital of the Philippines, north of Manila, in Luzon. And thousands of expats, of foreigners, choose to live outside of cities like that, and I haven't named them all, but those are some of the major ones, for a number of reasons. Number one, perhaps, is the slower pace of life. Many of you have come from smaller towns, smaller cities, even rural areas in your old country, and you really don't want to move to a large city with all the challenges that brings. So you get a slower pace of life. Even here, over on Mactan Island, it's a slower pace, more relaxed pace, different. It's a different pace of life, a little bit different culture, it feels, than over in Cebu City. Mandaue City too, parts of Mandaue City feel different. And each one has its special characteristics, and also its own challenges, shall we say, depending upon the area that you live in. Anyway, you have choices. You can live high end. You can find a very nice, large house to rent, even on the beach, and just depending upon the area, what it will cost you, the motivation of the owner. There are many foreigners who have built and live in houses or rent houses out in various areas, including beach type areas. You can live in a very modest house and or condo apartment, and some of the best ways to find those are asking the locals. And if you can find a Filipino who can help you find and negotiate that, that's even better. Sometimes there is that foreign price. If they know the foreigner is looking, the price might go up a bit. I have experienced that a number of times because for those of you who are new to the channel or don't know, I do a lot of walking. I've done a lot of videos of condominiums, of some of subdivisions, housing developments over the course since 2015. 3 trips here, and spent most of that time in Cebu City, but I've been over to Iloilo City, Bacolod City, over to Bohol and Tagbilaran City, and I've done a number of videos over there, not just on housing, but also on cost of living, on resorts, on travel in different areas, that type of thing. So please check out my other videos, over 1,000 videos. And if you would be so kind as to hit the like button, or even the dislike button, the thumbs down button, if you don't like the videos. It all helps to promote the channel, the algorithms with YouTube and Google, who owns YouTube. And I can use all the help I can get. Got lots more videos and ideas about videos to come. One of my next ones will be in the coming week or two. Been researching property again. will be on property with this almost 2 year crisis that we have. The prices have been dropping for sales and also rentals. You can find some. There are people who will not negotiate. There are people who will not negotiate prices for sale and or rent at that point in time, unless that's really what you want. You just move on down the street to the next place. There's thousands, tens of thousands of units sitting vacant, and so there's room to negotiate. Another reason that brings up is the cost of living. Another reason why people might decide to live in the province instead of in the city. Generally speaking, your cost of living, your rent, sometimes your food costs can be lower out in the province. In the province, every place is in the province. The Philippines is made up of provinces, but the word province generally means out of the city, country, rural area. So you can find rents and properties for much less generally than you can in the city. If you live near a city, and there are probably thousands of expats, foreigners who live just a little ways within an hour of Cebu City, for instance. Going south, you've got Talisay City, you've got Manila, both which have many subdivisions, newer subdivisions, and you can even go up into the foothills a bit, and they've got subdivisions where it's just a little bit cooler as you go up in elevation. That's where you find a little bit cooler temperature if you are not totally surrounded by trees, so that you get a little bit of breeze. And going north, you've got Liloan, Consolacion. I've been corrected a number of times on that pronunciation. It's more of a Spanish pronunciation. Compostela, and even going further north than that, all the way up to northern Bogo up north. You've got a number of expats, foreigners that live up on the northern end, and even the southern end, Santander on the southern end, and over on the western side, Toledo, Molbol, Barilli, Balamban, live over in that area over there. Not so far, about 2 hours perhaps, depending upon traffic, hour and a half, 2.5 hours to get over there, up over the mountains. And most of those smaller towns, call them provincial towns, have a mall, and they've got a Jollibee's, and maybe even a McDonald's. Many of those towns do. So you're not too far away from most of the things that you need. Things to be concerned about: medical care. Most of those areas fairly close to you would have some sort of hospital, but for anything serious, they would send you off to the bigger city, like Cebu City or Manila, to the bigger, better hospitals that have more equipment, more specialists. Dumaguete, I don't want to forget, Dumaguete is a favorite for many expats down there, and even Valencia up in the mountains there. Many more are discovering Valencia, which is up in the mountains above Dumaguete, and close enough to Dumaguete, which has a couple of 2 or 3 malls, I think, 2 or 3 McDonald's, several Jollibees. So what else more could you ask for? During normal times, it's pretty easy to travel to the big city if you're not in the city, except during these last almost 20 months with the lockdown. It's even been difficult for people to travel just from 30 minutes south, an hour south, because of the border restrictions, the travel restrictions put in place here and around the world, around the Philippines. But under normal circumstances, unless there is a storm that shuts down the ferries, you can take a ferry and be to a larger city. You can take a bus if you've got a vehicle. Of course, you can drive. depending upon how far you are away. Now, I've been over on Camotes Island. It's part of the Cebu province, and the guy that I met over there, he said unless you're down at the market, the public market, very early, I think Sunday morning, he said they process one beef each week there. You aren't going to get any beef that week. And I think he said he makes 2 trips a month over to Cebu City to get the things he can't get over there. And part of it's just get out of town. He stays here a day or two, just to, once you're on a small island, relatively, that's 4 small islands over there, start running out of things to do, I guess. In most cases, you're going to be able to travel an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours to the nearest city where you can get the items that are not available. And one thing, I've been living in the city. I grew up in rural, small town America, the USA in America, but I appreciate the big city. I've lived in a number of big cities, medium-sized cities, and even a couple smaller towns. I appreciate the convenience and having the shopping available, having activities available, entertainment available, and could be one thing that you would miss. Now, more and more expats, and I get the comments occasionally, one thing I don't want to see in the Philippines are other foreigners, other expats. And I kind of felt the same thing. It wasn't that I felt I didn't want to meet any expats, it's that I was busy. I was busy exploring, discovering the Philippine culture. But after a year and a half, I realized that I was missing some discussion. I was missing out on the discussions, camaraderie of people with the same, many of the same values, the same history, the same language, and I appreciate that. There are quite a few expats in the Cebu City area. I've got a number of friends from different countries, met many subscribers from different countries. So people that go halfway around the world to live some other place are generally tend to be very unique people. And yeah, there's some what you I'm not going to call them bad people, but they're in a category that some of you wouldn't want to hang out with, be around. That's true, and there are people that wouldn't want to hang out with me either. So it goes both ways, I'm sure. I've been told by a number of expats that live out in the smaller suburbs, or whatever you want to call it, Talisay City, that there are foreigners, and they've got a number of friends, foreign friends that hang out in those areas. They get together once a week or once every couple of weeks. They might do billiards, they might have some other activities they do, or just meet at a coffee shop and have coffee or beer or something. The one great thing about the Philippines, you have so many options. You can live in the big city, medium-sized city, small city. You can live close to the beach, or you can live in the mountains. Now, as far as living up higher in elevation, I'm not aware of too many areas where there are a lot of expats, for instance. But there are quite a number of subdivisions up in the foothills outside of many cities where you can get up in elevation. It gets a little bit cooler. A lot of gated communities, townhouses, attached houses, unattached houses, oftentimes in these various suburbs. Be sure that you have good water. Check that you have internet access, if that's important to you. And all those other things that are important to you, medical care, schools, if you've got children, plan on having children. Anyway, we're coming to the end of our road here, so appreciate it. Looking forward to your comments. Those of you who live in the province, what's your experience? Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.